Bonjour à tous, rebonjour à tous. Donc, on va reprendre les discussions et les présentations par Christine Neubert qui travaille au CEA et qui nous parlera, qui va nous faire euh, une présentation sur son projet européen. Donc, Christine, bah, c'est à toi.
Merci. Je vais commencer par partager mon écran. Euh, euh, alors, je pense que là, vous devez voir l'écran. Voilà. So, good morning to everybody. I will present you a project named HistoTrust that is funded both by the NanoELEC Institute, that is a research technological institute, and the project INSECT, that is a European project. And the goal of HistoTrust is to build an attestation scheme based on the Ethereum blockchain that is able to attest a data history generated by autonomous devices in a context of multi-stakeholders. So here is a use case. So we're in the factory. And in a factory, in a production line, many autonomous devices will cooperate in order to build, to assemble a product. Here we take the example of a car. It may be another product. And so we will have automat, it may be smart robots or cyber physical systems that embed some API, some intelligence, or a lot of feature, but they will command actuators that will operate on the product. This automat may belong to stakeholders who are suppliers that in fact are not present in the factory. They will build the product in their office, at their home, and they will deliver a product to a client, and the product will run in a factory. So the problem is this one. When there is an incident, for example, the car is scratched, that involve a lot of cost. The question is who is accountable and who must support the cost. In the context of multi-stakeholders, this question may be difficult to solve because the supplier of the automat are not present in the factory. The client is present. Also, operators may be present, and the data that are produced, that are digital, may be tampered, but where, in what device, and by who, this is a question that is open when there are no proofs. So the goal of the project is to bring trust on proofs in order to protect the business of all the stakeholders who cooperate in a production line in order to make proofs share between them, and to build trust and to build some feature in order to cooperate and to, if it is possible, they will need lawyer in case of incident, but to go to the lawyer as late as possible. So here is a picture of the situation. So we will have many stakeholders. Here on the top, we see the suppliers who will provide cyber-physical system, machine, cars, or it may be IoT also, or sensor actuators. But all these devices will participate together to a goal that is to build a product or to do a task. But these suppliers, once they have delivered the product, are not present in the factory on the field, on the area. Other suppliers are physically present. We can have the operators. It may be also many kind of people, but on the manager, that is the client. And in fact, in big factory, this client generally have the administrator rights on the product of the suppliers. This is a very big difficulty in case of a litige, of an incident. On the third category of stakeholders, of people, is the one who will verify that, who will audit the system if it is needed to resolve conflict. They may be lawyer or also insurance experts. And these people need means to be able to find the problem, where is the problem, and who is involved and who is accountable. And without means, they cannot do concretely this job. So here is our problematic. In an automat, there is a lot of informatic code on the hardware, and now there is often intelligence artificial. So the decision that will command the actuators will be driven by an intelligent code, or a decision code, in fact, who will take decision to make the digital command. And in input, we will have human decision that may pilot the decision, in fact, learning, and also sensor, IoT sensor that will collect data that are bring in input of the system. And as output, we will have the digital command to the actuators, but also logs. The command may be written in the logs or not. It will depend of the decision of the suppliers, in fact. And there is also output to predictive maintenance. And so when there is a problem in the output, in fact, in our example, in the digital command that make a task on the assembly line, here the garage scratch, for example, the questions are who is the device owner that is accountable for this problem? What are the devices involved? And the historic of the data, is there authentic? So we will address these questions by the technology, by providing a solution to answers to this problematic. Okay, I will show you the hacker profile that we consider in our project. So there are 4 profiles considered. The first one is an operator that make a mistake, and so he would like to mask his fault, and he will cut the power in order to hope that the fresh data that are just produced remain in the RAM, in the non-permanent memory, and so maybe it will be lost, and it will be okay for him. The second profile of hacker is the client. This one has the admin rights, so he is able to tamper, falsify the logs on the devices in order to mask a problem, and eventually he can bring the fault to another stakeholder of the ecosystem. The third profile of hacker is the supplier. This one may have a VPN or an access to his devices, his remote devices, to exfiltrate his own data, and so he may tamper the data on his cloud, on his own servers, in order to mask a possible fault that may involve him. And the last profile of hacker is a remote hacker, maybe a concurrent, that is able to inject a malware on the device, and this malware will generate fake data, and so may cause a problem which is not the fault of the supplier or of the device owner. So we consider these requirements. The first one is the confidentiality of the data produced. That should remain managed by the owner. So they must not be shared between the stakeholders. The second one is the persistency of the data. This one should not be removed from a device or from a cloud. Here, the requirement is that each owner is responsible for the persistency of his data and must be able to provide all the data produced without removal. The tamper resistance is that the data history should not be tampered, and it must also remain ordered. The authentication, the data issued from the device should be authenticable. So in our design, we make the hypothesis that all the stakeholders should be able to authenticate the issuer of the data, but not the data itself. On the verifiability, this is the biggest point, I think, in the blockchain environment. When we consider confidential data, we consider in this point that all the stakeholders should be able to verify the correctness of the data, even of the data of the others. That is a very strong requirement, and we will see how we can go ahead to fulfill this requirement. So the goal is to build trust between the stakeholders in a context of there is a priori no trust between them, and each of them will have the goal to protect his business. This trust should be bring by design in order to reduce the need of a third party. So we'll have a look to the solution of the state of the art. Here I just choose 3 of them that are SGXlog, mlog, and GraphChains. They are different, but both of these three solutions have been experimented, and so there is a feedback on the proof of concept. The SGXLOT on EMLog are using a centralized architecture with a client server topology, and the data are ciphered and are stored remotely on the remote server. So they use an enclave, so a secure, trusted execution environment and the secure memory to store the data in the remote device. But we in our scheme we exclude the manner, the way to store data remotely, because we don't want that the data are shared between the stakeholders, even ciphered, and even in a protected memory. We think that the data should remain the property and the accountability and the responsibility of the owner. And the third solution of the literature on GraphChain is using an hyperfabric blockchain. And the solution consists in recording cipher data in the blockchain that is permissioned, of course, but on shared between validator nodes. We think that this solution do not fulfill our requirements because from my point of view, it's not a good solution to store data on the chain, even permission, and even ciphered, because the ciphering algorithm, as AES, for example, is robust now, but it may be cracked later, and so all the data will be disclosed. And with a quantum computer, we can think that some ciphering algorithm may be cracked, maybe hacked. So it's not a good solution, whatever the use case, to store data, even ciphered in a blockchain. Another reason is the key management, because when we cipher data, we will use a symmetric key to realize the ciphering, but this key is odd. That means that we cannot use an ephemeral key, because the cipher data are recorded forever in the blockchain. So when we would like to allow a pair of someone to consult, to audit the data, we must give him the symmetric key in order to enable him to decipher the data. And once we have given the key, it is forever, in fact, because and it is the same for all the people that we will allow to make the audit. So it's not really agile, and for me, it's not a tangible solution. So in our scheme, we have considered that the data remain on the device of the owner, that are responsible to manage and to protect the data, and we will share only cryptographic attestations that are proofs on the data of each stakeholders. And by sharing the proof, we will give trust to the other that we are involved at a given moment to do a task on the assembly line, but the other don't know what and why has been done. So we come back to our smart robot. So we will build on the device cryptographic attestations in order to make transparency on the activity on the production line. So the data are produced locally and remain private, the ownership of the stakeholders, and they may be written in logs or on a data history. And we build the transactions that are sent to an Ethereum blockchain. And on this transaction, we include the attestation on the data in order to make cryptographic proofs that are visible by everyone. So we have prototype this solution on IoT devices. In fact, we are using a ST32 MP1 system on module provided by ST Microelectronics that embed a trusted execution environment, TrustZone, with an architect asset even that has a particularity to provide two execution zone. On the right in blue, that is the normal world that has no security, in fact. On the left in green, it is a secure world with a trusted execution environment. And we embed on this secure world an OptiOS in order to be able to perform confidential tasks, confidential algorithm in that microcontroller. And we use also a TPM. On the screen, you can see a picture of the daughter board that we are using. That is a board from ST Microelectronics too, with a ST33, that is ST Safe TPM from ST. And we are able to access and to control the TPM from the trust zone in order to have access to secret or to response to a challenge, and to process the response in a confidential environment before giving information only public to the normal world. So this is our IoT2 prototype. And so we built topology where we are working with a 4-board in a decentralized scheme, in a decentralized network. And so we have 4, in fact, device-centric IoT board that produce data. They emulate, in fact, a smart robot or the heart of a smart robot. And they produce data at their own rate, and they keep the raw data locally, and they send cryptographic attestation of the data produced to distributed Ethereum ledger. And we make the choice to provide all stakeholders of the ecosystem with one and only one validator node. So the goal is to make, if it's possible, fairness between the ecosystem. Each stakeholder have access to the ledger and is equitable for the validation. And so in the ledgers, they can see the data history, not the data history, but the attestation history of the data. And everybody has the same information and the same access to this history. Here is a picture of the content of the ledger. So we can see that the attestation contains only cryptographic elements. In the picture that is on the back, we can see that the attestation is ordered. There will be a timestamp, persistent, tamper resistant, and there is in blue here the contact address of the device issuer that authenticate, in fact, the device that make an action at a given time. And in the picture in the front, you see also the TX data that hold the cryptographic proof that attest the data that remain stored by their owner. So this is an element that enables the verification later because the verifier will have access to the ledger and so to all the proof from all the devices, from all the stakeholders. And if it is an authority, if he is an authority, he may ask a given stakeholder to provide him the raw data that corresponds to this cryptographic proof. And the data should be complete and correct. So that is another view to explain how can we lead the verification. So in the left, you can see the root of distributed data attestation. So each IoT will produce its own data. Only the attestation are sent to the ledger, and the data in the left remain locally on the device. In the right part of the picture, each stakeholder have a validator node and a copy of the ledger, so everyone is able to see and to have access to the cryptographic attestation. And the verification may be done even by a third party. It may be an insurance expert or a lawyer. In this case, they will ask a given stakeholder to provide him the raw data, and with the access to the ledger, he can check that that everything is correct, and they can find if there is a problem, a defect, or some data that have been removed. Another way to enable the verification by all is in progress in our laboratory. And the goal is this one. It is if we are able to provide a trusted application that performing the verification is a trust zone, we are able to access the raw data via a secure channel, and the deciphering will be done in days in a secure component in a trust zone, and only the report will be shared with the ecosystem of stakeholders. By this way, no data are revealed, and we do not need third party to do the verification. Okay, thank you. I will answer your question.
Thank you, Christine. So we'll ask if there are questions in the room in Nice? Yes.
So Marta Balatouré.
Hello, thank you for this presentation. It was very interesting. I'm working on trust and blockchain, and I'm just wondering, when we talk about trust by design, we are just talking about one determinant of trust between stakeholders. So do you believe that the blockchain will help stakeholders to trust each other, or at some point the trust between organization or between users will be essential? For example, when you enter a blockchain, for example, everyone will enter in this blockchain, or just people that are trusted by the others nodes of the blockchain?
In our scheme, it is not permissionless. So to have a validator node, a stakeholder should be enrolled on the ecosystem of stakeholders involved in the use case. In fact, so I don't know if a stakeholder in this context will trust another, but the goal is to provide by the technology a solution, a scheme that enable to make trust collectively and to ensure the governance together. So I think that it is more that each one is able to protect more its business in such an environment, in such an ecosystem, and so to provide proof to protect himself and to protect its business when faced to a lawyer, for example. So I'm not sure that he will have more trust for the other, but the trust is shared thanks to a given scheme, thanks to the technology.
Yeah, I understand. So, for example, in the ecosystem with the blockchain, we can think that some guy that we don't know enter in the ecosystem like a new player, ecosystem player, and they can access to the blockchain without trust issue between counterparties. Because I was like thinking about the supply chain, and they are just the providers or the suppliers that are entering the blockchain, so they know each other. So there is a trust relationship at the moment of the creation of the blockchain.
Yes, in fact, in our use case, there is a real contract that are seen before accessing to the technology and before owning a node or before accessing to the lecture. The question is more, what is it possible to relay the need of a lawyer later? Is it possible when there is an incident to have a tool in order to resolve conflict by our own, or to avoid conflict because there are proofs, and to avoid to go to the lawyer, because it is very costly for all the stakeholders to have a lawyer. So if they are able to provide proofs and to make a consensus between them in order to work together, it's better, and it is it will decrease the cost, in fact.
Okay, thank you so much. I hope to talk about it in another occasion because it's very interesting. Thank you.
Thank you. Have you got another question? Yes. Luc Geritz.
Hello. I have a question about more on the technical side on the IoT. What is exactly on the IoT? I didn't catch the for example the OS, or what kind of application is running on the IoT. How is it sending? How is it connected? Is it using Wi-Fi or network, or what kind of application is on the IoT actually? That's my question actually. That's it.
Okay. So for the connection on the network, we are using a socket.
Okay.
And in fact, everything is embedded on the IoT. By everything, I mean that we have an industrial application that produce data. It may be an artificial intelligence or even industrial data that command actuators, in fact. And this application so produce data locally. These data are stored in a protected memory. And we have another application that takes this data in real time and build attestations, so cryptographic proofs on this data. So these cryptographic proofs are built in the trust zone, thanks to private key and secret access in the TPM. And so we switch off context to once the transaction built, in order to send the transaction to the blockchain. So we have also embedded on the board, so in the normal world, in fact, the connections to the Ethereum blockchain. So we have embedded a very small library API that is able to make the translation of the transaction technical language in the JSON Ethereum API, in order to send a transaction that is already comprehensible, understandable by Ethereum. So we do not need intermediate devices such as Edge or something like that devices.
Okay. So if I understand correctly, you have probably some application, some client application of Ethereum running in parallel of the data that is being generated by some other application. So you have two.
Yes, they are working concurrently on the board. Yes.
Okay. And is it like in C++, the client, or what kind of language is used to deploy the client, the Ethereum client?
Everything is programmed in C language.
C language. Okay.
Even in TrustZone, we are using C language.
Okay.
We have embedded on TrustZone embed TLS library, only the features that we need, and also a part of the TPM stack that is very, very big and complex. In fact, we just embed the part of the stack that the command to the TPM that we need in the trust zone.
Okay, interesting. Is it open source, or is it a closed project?
This project is not open source.
Okay. Thank you. That was my question.
Thank you. We will ask for everybody if there are questions. Il n'y en a pas. No. Okay. I have a question for you, Christine. You said that you were using only consortium blockchains, or probably I have a wrong interpretation of what you said, but the problem is that those the stakeholders are responsible for mining all the transactions that are on the Ethereum blockchain, or does they mine only the local IoTs transactions?
Okay, this is a proof of concept. So it is with the TRL3, for example. In our prototype that is local, in fact, we made the choice to provide each stakeholder with a validator node in a consortium blockchain. In fact, we are using Go Ethereum, so Get, to provide a local distributed ledger, and so only the transaction coming from these devices are mine. Why this was? In fact, we can send transaction to the mainnet of Ethereum, because it will manage by a smart contract, and the smart contract is delimited, and there is no private information, and it will work in the same way. But the question for the deployment is that in a factory, there is generally two networks that communicate with a very strong proxy and security. That is the information system that communicates with outside, and the manufacturing network that do not communicate with outside. And so in the manufacturing network, it's difficult to have access to a permissionless blockchain like Ethereum.
Okay.
So a way to resolve this problem is to provide the stakeholder with a node that is in the factory, in fact, and remain in the manufacturing network, and have no access to outside too. It is just a problematic of the manufacturing domain, in fact.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Okay. There is no more questions, so I don't know what we do now. Probably we will close this morning session and restart at 2 o'clock.
Yes, so this afternoon we'll have presentations of PhD students and postdocs who are going to present in different disciplines. We'll have sociology, economics and management, law, computer science, electronics. So it will be a very nice range of topics. And the idea is to have short presentations to enhance the dialogue between the disciplines.
Yeah.
And well, we hope it's going to be interesting. So we'll have a lunch break and we'll meet again at 2 p.m. I'm just looking at Julien if he wants to add something on the program or...
Thank you for all speakers for the quality of the conference, the academic conference. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We hope that you, Christine, will be there this afternoon, because we will try to have a presentation. We will have a presentation of some of my PhDs that are okay. Yeah, I hope that you will be there also this afternoon.
Yes, I will be there this afternoon. There is just maybe 20 minutes that I will make a break, but I will be there from 2 p.m. to 6.
Okay. Thank you very much. So
perfect. Thank you so much, and see you at 2 p.m. In this room and online for those who are not here.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Christine. Bye.